Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to IBF7911, Principles of Accounting and Finance. The first topic that we will be covering today is Theory of Firm, Management and Stakeholders from Islamic Perspective. So at the end of the topic, you would be able to understand what is accounting and finance, recognize various types of business establishment, explain the difference between financial and management accounting, know the difference between general purpose and special purpose accounting, know the types of financial statement, describe various uses of financial statement, and name the components of accounting equation, and finally, explain every steps of accounting cycle. So, as an introduction, in conventional economics, the theoretical model of the firm is generally based on the economic variables. So the construction of an objective function primarily emanates from the maximization of profit and minimization of costs. So this is the basic objective of firms. Yeah? From the conventional perspective, it is always about the maximization of profit, or sometimes people refer it to the maximization of shareholders' wealth. Yeah? Because of shareholders is the one investing in the business, and then the main objective is to enhance their wealth. Okay, firms enter the market when they are observing a higher profit and exit the market when they observe losses in economic terms. Opportunity cost is a pure economic phenomenon. So this is according to researcher. Yes, so usually people will go into the business when they see that there is a potential to make profit in the business. So usually when the business is not really encouraging, most people will go out from the business or they will exit the business. However, a firm as an integrated part of society has some moral and ethical obligations. At the time of formulating their objective function, they have to incorporate social, cultural, moral, ethical variables beside economic ones. So this is actually the awareness that the economists especially, started to have. So that's why they are promoting the business aside from just putting the aim to maximize their wealth. They should have something beside that. For example, to ensure that the other stakeholders' interests are also being taken care. So this means that the society around the business, the culture in terms of culture, moral, and ethical as well. However, very limited studies can be seen in this area, including religion as a variable in their discussion. So this is according to Anderson, who explore the role of religion in the formation and development of enterprise culture. It is the moral of social responsibility of the firm to care for the stakeholder while they are in the process of earning. So this is research by this group. So meaning that they have to ensure that other stakeholder interest is also taken care. So for example, in terms of moral hazard, for the environment, and then maybe in terms of the business sources itself, business resources itself, it shouldn't be monopolized by one particular company only. Yeah. Okay. Fortunately, Islamic framework guides the economic agents towards the positive as well as normative aspect in all fields of life. So usually Muslim businessmen, they will have the religion as the guide. They will, whatever they do will be guided by religion. There are the same guidance in the theories of economy. For example, the theory of consumption, the theory of production, theory of distribution, and so on. The main objective of Muslim entrepreneur is based on reasonable profit, just price, just wage, and welfare of society. So supposedly Muslim, when they do the business, supposedly they would ensure that justice and fairness prevail in the business. So to, for example, ensuring just to their staff, ensuring fairness is being guaranteed for their customer, and also ensuring that justice being prevail in the society as well. So it is recommended that entrepreneurs should include the above mentioned four components, i.e., in terms of fairness in profit, just price, just wage, and welfare of the society. So supposedly to be incorporated in the business of Muslim. So this is the theory of the firm. A firm is an important entity through which economic activities are organized in society. So in market economy, the firm's role is significant and remarkable. So they play a very important role in the society and as well as economy. So the business play a very important role in economy and society. It manages the factors of production and also plays an important role in enhancing the market mechanism. So factors of production include the labor. Yeah, for example, when graduates come into graduated from the university, definitely the graduates will need job. So these are managed by the players of the economy, the firm. One of them is the firm itself. So they are the one determining whether there will be a job or not for the graduates, for example. This is one of their role. So the mainstream economists consider that firms allocate the resources in an optimal way if they work under the umbrella of free market. So this is the thinking of the capitalists. They always believe that under the free market, then the resources would be optimized. Yeah. So the advancement of technology is another important phenomenon which is related to the size and structure of the firm. Productivity of the firm is based on the level of technology that it applies. This is, of course, undeniable. If you see now with the COVID-19, the application of technology helps the business to continue their operation. For example, the banks, or the financial institution, without technology, definitely they will face difficulties with the COVID-19. However, with the technology, business run as usual. So most of the work staff or most of the players in the finance industry, for example, can proceed working at home, with the COVID-19. So not at all being impacted by COVID-19, alhamdulillah, for our industry. So what is worth considering is the pattern of the technology and the product. And this will make the firm more productive and more efficient through economies of scale and scope. So technology definitely can ensure that the business can operate at the full capacity. So it can enhance the economy of scale for the business. However, due to monopoly power, these firms tend to exploit smaller firms and resources, in effect creating social problem which should be controlled by the public authority. So this, of course, something that happened in the world, not only now, but since the beginning of when people know how to do business. Of course, they tend to take advantage of the weaker one. The stronger one will take advantage of the weaker one. That's why it needs to be guided. That's why, for example, in Malaysia, we have regulatory bodies in taking care of their own jurisdiction. For finance industry, we have two regulatory bodies, which is Bank Negara and Securities Commission, to make sure that the players will be control of their activities so that they don't manipulate each other, they don't take advantage of each other. So that is why very important the regulatory body and governance system to ensure fairness and justice prevail. The structure and nature of firms has been changed because of mass production and multinational and transnational business activities. Of course, because of the company expanding, business expanding around the globe, so that the structure and nature of firm also have to be changed according to the size of their business. For example, when the company starts small in their own country, definitely the structure is just maybe very flat, where not many staff is required. But as they expand, let's say they expand into other region, so definitely they need more staff, and then of course the structure of the business will change a bit. For example, from only CEO and staff, maybe they would need more vice CEO and of course the managers to take care of every region, for example. So and then when they expand further to the globe, to the global business, for example, definitely they need different manager or president, or maybe general manager to take care of every every branch that they have in the world. Yeah, so that is why it really depends on the structure and nature and the size of the firm itself. This has led to the emergence of new character of the firm, whereby the ownership of the property does not necessarily imply its control. A revolutionary change has occurred in its framework. A new class or in the organizational setup of the firm has emerged, which control and employs the property of others. Okay, this has changed the direction of theories and practice because an ownership and control are now two different issues. Yes, so if you see now, all the business, when they go for listing, for example, the size become bigger than when they started as a sole proprietorship or partnership. So when they become bigger, definitely ownership and control will be different when they were small. When, let's say, when the company started off as a sole proprietorship, usually the founder or the owner would be the one controlling the business. But once it grew bigger, let's say it is becoming a listed company on Bursa Malaysia or any bourse, yeah. So definitely the size would be much bigger, and then at that time, the owner, usually most of the significant portion will be by public, so would not be controlling the business anymore. The business would be managed by a team of management who are not directly actually under the supervision or under the monitoring of the owner or shareholder anymore. Yeah, so it becomes totally different. A different structure when they grow big. Okay, so as a result, new issue of principal agency relationship has emerged in the model and structure of the firm. So this is where, when the company grow big and then become a listed company, and then it will create a principal and agency relationship. So principal is the shareholder, agency is the one running the business, meaning that the team of management. So this is the responsibility of the manager or the one running the business. Okay, so to ensure maximization of the profit for the shareholders, so they need to ensure, in terms of capital structure, it is viable or it is balanced to make sure that the business is not really going into a risky position. If the business is in too much debt, so definitely it will expose the business to risk. And then, for example, merger and acquisition. So to ensure that the business grow bigger, so maybe they will have to look into merger and acquisition. And then in terms of capital budgeting, so when they want to start a project, they need to evaluate the viability of the project by doing the capital budgeting. And then when the business started to give profit and then they accumulate the profit, then there will be time to distribute the profit to the shareholders. So this will require dividend policy. Okay, so they also have, at the same time, as a manager, they also have the responsibility to protect the interests of stakeholders. So this include, for example, the customer, or this will include the people living around the business. Yeah. So, for example, they will need to take care about the customer relationship management, and then they also have to have the corporate social responsibility to ensure the society living around the business will be protected from the environment which resulted from the business activities. And then another one, they also have to look into, in specific, the ESG. So this is considered a new, this is actually the latest one where companies are moving towards ESG, which means company have to ensure the environment is protected, the social and governance are enhanced, in the company. So social means that the social, corporate social responsibility activity, and also the governance of the business, right? So this CRM, CSR, and ESG, the new, not really new, CRM is quite some time already, but ESG considered a new requirement. CSR is have already been embedded in the business for, I would say, more than 50 years ago. Yeah, so all this requirement and becoming something that the firms have to prove that they are doing it. And so one of the proof that they have to not only do, but they have to report it, so that so that their stakeholder can see what they do. So all this requirement is part of the information that they need to present to the stakeholders in their annual report. So especially when they become bigger, when they become a listed company, where they will require public's money to be invested in the business. So at that time, the requirement to report all their activities regarding the customer, regarding the society and environment need to be reported to their shareholders. Okay, this is the Islamic theory and framework of the firm. Yeah, every Muslim scholars have also discussed the behavior of the firm and management and their responsibility towards society and community. So the scholars started to think of what the company is supposed to do, what the firm is supposed to do. So from instead of just taking care of the wealth of the shareholders, instead of just maximizing the wealth of the shareholders. So what are the role of the firm? What are the role of the business to the society at large? So these are the things that being an issue and being the focus of many Muslim scholars. So it is a well-known phenomenon that Islamic system of governance works on the principle of no injury or principle of maslahah. So this is actually in line with the maqasid al-Shari'ah, yeah, objective of Sharia, which is to provide the benefit to the society and to prevent harm from the society. So this is the basic objective that we want the business to embed in their throughout their action in generating profit for them. Yeah, so they have to also make sure that the society's benefit are ensured, and they also have to make certain that the harm will be prevented from the society. So the early works of the jurists are based on these two principles, i.e. no injury and principle of maslahah. It is to establish that the worldly goods are for the advantage of all, and no one has the right to use this good to cause a loss to the other members of society. So while making profit from the business, while benefiting the society, at the same time they have to make sure that not even one member of society will be suffering from the business. So this is what it meant by preventing harm. Islam gives training to men on how to develop morals and how to use this moral to bring faster economic coordination. So supposedly those doing business have to embed the moral in their business as well. However, the organization of firms in the past was not as complex as it is today. Yeah, so this requires extensive work to understand the modern firm's behavior and Islamic framework. Yeah, so this is actually a challenge because of the complex structure of the business nowadays. As I mentioned, when the business become a global business, so with the complex structure, so we have to ensure that the maqasid Sharia is prevail. All the maqasid Sharia is prevail. So you have to relate to maqasid al-Sharia. Okay, Islam has its own rules, laws and regulation towards the nature as well as economic perspective of the firm, which are to some extent different from the conventional system. So we already learned that the business, their main objective is the maximization of shareholders' wealth. So when we look from the Islamic perspective, maybe the objective have to be modified a bit. Yeah. Islamic norms are expected to change the policies and direction of the business. So sometimes, when in pursuing their profit, sometimes business tend to monopoly, the business tend to take over another business, the business tend to maybe they, of course, they have to get the source, this resource for the production, the source of production, for example, in terms of labor, in terms of raw material, they need to get the cheapest possible, because of this is one of the component to make profit. So when they get this raw material and the cheapest raw material, definitely the potential to make profit is higher. So when we, from Islamic perspective, while we want to make sure that the business can get the raw material at the cheapest price, we have to make sure that fairness is is ascertained to the provider of the raw material. So for example, those the farmers who produce the milk and then who sold the milk, the raw milk to the companies like produce the milk-based products, or maybe the those who grow, for example, the business who grow the palm oil, for example, they are supplying the palm oil to the companies that produce the palm oil based product, for example, the soap, shampoo, or the cooking oil. So in order to get even though the business, the producer need to get the raw material at the cheapest price, they have to make sure that the producer of the raw material, which is the farmers, their right is taken care as well, and not to push them so that they have to sell at the lowest price. So this is the Islamic norms, which might have impact on the company policy and direction. Also, although we do not find any restriction on establishing firms in this system, Islamic system appreciates the investor, business initiators, and the role of the entrepreneur in the reduction of poverty, and consider a firm with such objective as a benefactor of the community. Yet the functioning of the firm is guided by the teaching of Quran and Sunnah. So definitely in Islam, we appreciate those entrepreneurs who move the economy, who roll the money in the economy, who help generate the wealth to the business. Definitely by acquiring wealth, they can help, they can help the society by engaging the people to work with them, by employing the people and give them the salary. So of course, this is the role of the business. So Islam appreciate what they do. However, they also need to observe the Islamic guideline. For example, in hiring the people, they have to ensure that salary is paid fairly, and then salary is paid immediately as soon as the workers finish working. So this is in line, for example, like the hadith that say that pay the labor before the sweat dry. So this is one way to ensure fairness to the workers. So these are the things among the things that need to be observed by business. Islam calls for socially responsible business. So the question should be, what contribution is the output of the firm going to make? So and then who are the beneficiaries of the value add components of the product of the firm? And so these are the questions that we need to ask to ensure that justice and fairness prevail throughout the business process. Islam teaches entrepreneurs about aspiration of betterment, striving to continuously overcome the self and journey from selfishness to altruism. Altruism is term of taking a decision towards determination of output and price. Islam exposed the axiom of selfishness, whereas a principle of self-interest is permitted as narrated by this particular by the religion. Okay. Monzekaf comment that all types of industrial activities in relation which degrade the human being or make them party to the vices for the sake of economic gain are not allowed in Islamic system. So what does it mean by Monzekaf is, the management of the business, they shouldn't take advantage of anybody in the business. For example, they shouldn't be taking advantage of their workers. They shouldn't be taking advantage of their supplier. So they have to be fair to everybody. So while self-interest and hence market mechanism is accepted as motivation and center for exchanges respectively, Islamic economies require market to work with cooperation, compassion, justice, charity, and solidarity to also produce a socially acceptable optimality alongside economic efficiency. Thus, the Islamic firm is expected to uphold such social expectation in order to reach sustainable economy and society. So this is important, the basic factors to sustainable economy. For example, if let's say the firms do not ensure justice, to do not pay a fair salary to the staff. So you just imagine the workers will do a protest to ask for a fair salary. So this would not be a sustainable business for the company, and so the company definitely will be affected when they do not take care of their staff properly. So you just look at what happened to Top Glove in Malaysia. Top Glove is one of the rubber glove company which becoming very popular during COVID-19, during MCO. When in the first MCO somewhere in March 2020. So when COVID-19 becoming a pandemic, so at that time, Top Glove become very, the darling stock of the Bursa Malaysia, because at that time people really believe that this company will be the one benefiting from COVID-19 because of of course the products, the rubber glove will be in demand, in high demand. So that's so what happened to Top Glove is the price went up so high, from less than 4 ringgit then to up to 26 ringgit at that time, because of people really look forward for the business because they believe that this business has potential. However, what happened with Top Glove is Top Glove do not take care of their workers. The workers who are mostly foreigners are located in a very small accommodation, very small houses. And then because of that, the US, the US do not want to import their products anymore, do not want to buy from them, because of in US, they are very particular about how a company treat the workers. So because of that, the products exported by Top Glove was banned from entering the US market. And then due to that, the profit of Top Glove affected, and now the price has gone down. So this is not only happening to Top Glove. Now rubber glove, all the price are going down in the stock market. So because of there's a lot of issues with how they treat their workers. Okay, so that is what it meant here. If the business take care of the stakeholders, so it will ensure sustainability in the business, and then of course indirectly it will contribute to the sustainable economy as well. Okay, so from Islamic point of view, the entrepreneur has the right to own private property and economic resources to make profit, to expand jobs, to boost investment, and to increase prosperity. Therefore, it is by the private property and private enterprise are affirmed as inalienable rights and a natural mode of economic activity. So from Islamic point of view, what does it mean here? From Islamic point of view, ownership individual ownership is recognized. Yeah? So it doesn't mean that Islam do not recognize individual ownership of wealth. So meaning that, if we talk about capitalism, capitalism, they really like very open market. They allow people to maximize their wealth. So in Islamic economy, we also recognize that business, if they do well, so of course the shareholders' wealth will be enhanced. So we recognize that. Yeah, however, what important is they have to make sure that they are doing the right thing towards their stakeholders. Okay. All right. And the position of human being in this world is a trustee, and all the resources are given by God to individuals as a duty to utilize them according to divine guidance. So what does it mean here is, as a Muslim, whatever given to them, so actually based on trusteeship, so they have to follow the guideline of Islam, of what Allah prescribed in the Quran, and being conveyed by the Prophet in doing the business as well. Yeah, so in other words, the very concept of function of property is transformed by the provision of moral and legal filters and instilling the people's mind and heart the notion that all in its form, physical and human, machine power and brain power, property is a trust of Allah. And as such, property rights are subject to moral limits and used as a means of fulfilling ethical objectives, i.e. the objective of Sharia, the maqasid al-Sharia. So it is common understanding that the utilization of resources on a non-economic basis is considered as operation, and this is in this situation the right of utilization will tend to zero. However, death is considered a natural end of one's property right. Islam demands professionalism from the entrepreneur and guides human beings not to betray the profession solely on profit. So the right of property in Islamic framework is recognized, but Muslim not allowed to violate the rights of the society and the state. Yes, so it is suggested that moral limits is embedded in the business to filter as a filter to overcome conflict between the social and private claims, meaning that private ownership and social ownership. However, if someone has discharged the duties to the society and state, then he has full right to possess that property. So meaning that if we perform our responsibility according to what Allah prescribed us, then we have all the rights to own the property. So this is the basic condition to maintain lawful acquisition of property. So which include the property should not have been acquired by unlawful means. So meaning, so if we want to have ownership of the property, it should by lawful means. So we use our own money, we don't deceive people, we don't take advantage on other people. And then the acquisition and its continuity should not result in any damage or harm to others. And the third one, the acquisition of property should not invalidate any valid claim, nor should establish a non-valid one, right? And then in terms of legal positioning, firms' property rights also come under the same rules of Sharia and as individuals. How individuals should manage the property is observed from the Quranic verse, and also the Prophet advised not to waste resources, property, and wealth. So the rule of ethics hence apply to the firms as well. Okay, this is mentioned in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29. O you who believe, eat up not your property among yourself in vanities, but let there be amongst you traffic and trade by mutual goodwill, nor kill yourself, for verily Allah hath been to you most merciful. So in a hadith, so it is mentioned that keep your property to yourself and do not squander it. In another hadith, the Prophet mentioned, Allah disapproved for your irrelevant talk persistent questioning and wasting of wealth. And then in this hadith compiled by Bukhari, the Prophet is recorded as mentioning the messenger, the messenger forbid the debase or scrap the currency of Muslim except that there is a danger. Okay, property rights. Talking about the property rights, the ownership of the property. It is necessary for determining market exchange and also key for definition of stakeholders of the Islamic firm. So when we do a business takeover, for example, or if the business buy property, buy any assets, the transaction has to be transparent, and then it should be following the Islamic contract. Okay, each Islamic firm is expected to preserve the property rights of its stakeholders. So this is actually in line with what being taught by Islam. The stakeholders is one whose property rights are at stake or at risk due to voluntary and involuntary action of the firm. So that's why it's important to ensure that the right is being taken care, and then of course if there is any, let's say, change of ownership right, it should be done properly in the business, because of sometimes business action, the business they are, for example, they want to do business takeover or they acquire another business, so this would result in some of the party will lose their rights. So it has to be done properly according to what we taught in Islam. It has to be in a transparent manner, and it should be it should be done while ensuring the rights of every transacting parties. The principle of property rights in Islam clearly justify inclusion of stakeholders into decision making and accountability of an economic agent's activities. So it has to be done with the decision with accountability as well. And this inclusion is based on the following principles: collectivity, community, society, and state has sharing rights with the property acquired by either individuals or firms. So meaning that while acquiring the property, all the rights of the stakeholder have to be taken care. Exercise of property rights should not lead to any harm or damage to property of others. So for example, a plantation company, when they buy a piece of land, let's say a few thousand acres of land in a jungle, so they have to make sure that they don't illegally take other people's right, or maybe they burn the jungle because they want to start planting their their palm oil, for example. They burn the jungle, and then because of the burning activity harm, or let's say there is a poultry farm next to it, or maybe there's even the village next to the plantation area. So they have to make sure while they do any activities, they do not harm other stakeholders. And then the right of others are considered as property and therefore subject to rules regarding violation of property rights. So while they take over one business, for example, they have to make sure that let's say the seller of the business are given the right price, and then while they do let's say they acquire a land, they have to make sure that it is not jeopardizing the society living near the land. So let's see what happened very recently, the landslide. The landslide in Malaysia. Most incident, it is due to the development of property in areas which is not really suitable for them to build the property. Usually, at the high, at the slope, for example, some of the property developer, they really love to build the houses, big houses at a slope area, because of it, it will be very attractive to the, high net worth people, residing at the slope area, because they want to see KL City at night. So living at the slope area will give them very nice scenery. But actually, the location is not really suitable. Just look what happened recently in Kuala Lumpur, where landslide happened, and then a few houses damaged because of that. And then if you remember, in the year 1993, the Highland Tower just collapsed. So the location is actually on Highland, and then until now the area is not really actually found to be suitable, but development very rampant in that area. Yeah, because of they can sell the property at the Highland area at a very high price. So these are among the issues in Malaysia, which we sometimes overlook. Okay, and then property leading to the denial of any valid claim or right would not qualify to be recognized as al-mal. So meaning that it cannot be recognized as our property if it is not really clear. And therefore, it will be considered as unlawful by Sharia. So if let's say the way we buy the property is not really transparent, or while we acquire the property, we actually deny the right of the native of the area, for example. So from the Sharia point of view, the ownership is not really, it is not really actually justified. So it cannot be considered as the property of the buyer if they do not really fair to the society in that particular area. Okay. So this is actually a research which mentioned that theory of the firm may roughly be classified into two categories, i.e. the incomplete contracting model and principal agent model. So you can find this, what are the terms means in the research. Okay, and then in stressing the incomplete contracting model, this is Force et al. State that the firm is nothing but a nexus of contracts backed by the legal status and characterized by continuity of association among input owners. In supporting this, Holmstrom and Mikram therefore view the firm as an organization, particularly as a logical set of corresponding contractual arrangement which lessen incentive differences. Okay, you can continue reading about this, how the firm and the nexus of contract from Islamic perspective. Okay, let us continue to learn about okay, so this is actually, okay, we will learn about the introduction of accounting in another slide. Okay, so let me close this slide first. Okay, just now it is about the theory of firm from Islamic perspective. Okay, so now the topic would be about accounting equation, process, and cycle. Okay, let me stop the recording.